Greetings. In this video, we'll be looking at basic techniques to secure your Cisco switch. At the end of this video, you should be able to correctly secure console line with a password, correctly secure VTY interfaces or line with a password, correctly secure privilege exec mode, accurately set service password encryption, and accurately create local username or password for login purposes. If you're new to this channel, you should subscribe so you do not miss any new videos. Also, if this video was beneficial, please like and share. Thanks. So, without further delay, let us begin. Now, security is a big deal when it comes to your networking devices, right? I am sure you don't want an unauthorized person to gain access to your network device, right? Such as a switch or a router. You know, these unauthorized persons, they could turn your network upside down, right? Hence why, as a part of basic switch or router configuration, the lines or interfaces available on these devices, right, to allow connection to the device for configuration purposes should be secured, right? And there are different ways to secure these lines or interfaces, right? But the most basic is to use a password, right? So on a switch or a router, the console line is labeled as line con 0. So just like this, line con 0, where 0 is like a port number, right? So this 0 here is like a port number, right? And the virtual teletype is labeled as VTY 0 to 15, and the 0 to 15 are like port numbers. So in essence, it means 16 simultaneous connections can be made via the VTY lines. Also, on some switches or router, the VTY port numbers goes from 0 to 4, right? So if you're configuring a switch or a router, you will need to check this via the show running config. Just remember that. Now, to specify a password on a line or an interface, right, such as the console line or the virtual teletype line, which is the VTY line, then you would use the password command in the line configuration mode, right? And I will show you how to do this soon. So once this is done, then to allow the device a check for a password when someone tries to log into the device, you would then execute the login command also in the line configuration mode, right? And I will show you how to do this. Alright, so what I'm gonna do first is add a network device to the work area, specifically a switch, a 2960 switch, right? I'm going to also add a end device, a generic computer, right? And I'm going to connect it via the console cable, right? By clicking on the console cable here, clicking on the PC, then I'm going to click on the RS232 port, then I'm going to click on the switch, then I'm going to go up to the console port. Now, to connect to the switch via the console cable, I will need to run a terminal emulator. So I'm going to click on the computer or double click on it, right? And I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to click on terminal, which is a terminal emulator used in Cisco, right? So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to leave this setting as is. Then I'm going to click OK, right? Here it is asking me to press enter. Once I hit the enter key, it will connect me to the switch via the console cable, right? So it is simulating you connecting to a switch using physical devices, right? So let me press the enter key. So now I'm in the user mode, right? And you realize that when I connected, it did not ask me for a password. This is not secure, right? So what I'm going to do first is show you how to set the password for the console port. So when somebody logs into your switch using a console cable, it will prompt them for a password, right? But before I do that, I'm going to move into privilege exec mode and execute the show running config command to show you that there is no password set currently. Alright, so let me do that. So I'm gonna enter enable, or I can shorten it by typing en, hit the enter key, right? Then I'm gonna execute the show running config command, right? Hit enter, and if you look here on the data return, there's nothing indicating that password was set. If I hit the enter key once more, nothing again, right? Now this is the line that indicates the console cable or the console port, right? And these are the two lines that indicate the VTY or the virtual teletype line. And as you can see, no password is set for both of them, right? So I'm gonna press space bar again, right? And I'm going to move to global configuration mode and set a password for the console port or the console line port. So alright, so let's do it. So first thing, move to the global configuration mode by entering configure terminal, or you can shorten it by typing config T, hit enter. Then I want to change the password for the console line, which is identified by this line here, line con 0. So in the global configuration mode, I'm going to enter line con 0, right, and hit enter, right? Then I'm going to execute the password command by typing password space, and I'm going to set a password of test, T-E-S-T, T-E-S-T, alright, and hit enter. Then I will execute the login keyword, and this is what will basically tell the switch that when someone tries to connect to it via the console cable, it should prompt them to log in with a password or a username. So let me show you. So I'm going to execute the login keyword and just hit enter, right? Now to check if this was actually set, what I'm going to do is execute the end command once. I'm gonna press enter again. Then I'm going to execute the show running config command, right? Show running config, and I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna scroll down, and if you look right here, right, these 3 lines, it basically says line con 0, right, and a password has been set, and the password is test. And when someone tries to connect to the device, they would be prompted to enter the password test, right? And we're going to test that to see if it actually works. But before I do that, I'm going to save the settings that I just made, and to do that, I'm going to execute the copy the running copy running config to startup config. And if you want to know more about running config and startup config files, see my video that deals with those topics, right? Once I do that, I'm gonna hit enter, right? I want to save it to the startup config file, so I'm gonna click enter again, and it has been saved. So what I'm gonna do now is exit out of this terminal and re-log in using the console cable. So I'm gonna exit, so I'm now outside of it, right? Now it says I'm supposed to press the return key to get started, so I'm gonna press the enter key on my keyboard to now reconnect to the switch. So let's see how that goes. So when I press enter, look what happened, right? It now asks me for a password, right? And the password is what? Test. So I'm going to type TEST. Alright, so one thing you have to remember is that when you type the password, right, when you're connecting to a switch or a router, it won't show the password type on the screen, right, but it's there. So I just type TEST, which is the password that was set, and I'm gonna hit enter, and just like that, it allows me to go into the switch. So I'm now in the user mode, right? Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to set the password for the virtual teletype line. And the virtual teletype lines, or VTY lines, or interfaces, what it does is allow remote access to your switch or router, right? So you can make configuration to your switch or your router remotely without physically being at the device, right? And again, you would want to secure that, right? So what I'm going to do is now show you how to set a password for the VTY lines. So I'm going to move to global configuration mode, but first I'll have to move to privilege exit mode by typing enable or en. Then I'm going to type configure terminal, or right, or short version config T, hit enter, and I'm going to be setting the password for the VTY line. So I'm going to type line VTY 0 space 15, right, and I'm gonna hit enter. Then I'm going to execute the password command, password, and I'm going to set a password of my test. So the password when someone is connecting remotely will be my test, and I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to execute the login command and hit enter, right? And to check if this was actually set, I'm going to execute the end command, right, once, then press enter again. Then I'm going to execute the show running config command, right? Show running config, enter, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where it deals with password. And if you look here, this is the password for the console line, and this is the area that deals with the VTY line. And if you look closely here, it is saying that a password of my test was set. So for the VT line 0 to 4 port, a password of my test was set, and for the VTY line 5 to 15, a password of my test was set again. So if somebody tries to connect to this switch remotely now, they will be prompted and asked for a password, right? You will also want to set a password for privilege exit mode, because in privilege exit mode more advanced settings or configuration can be done, and you don't want any and everybody to basically go in and be able to do these changes, right? So hence why a password is set for the privilege exit mode, right? And to identify which mode you're in, all you have to remember is that the pound key, just like what you see here, which is this one, signifies that you're in the privilege exit mode. And if I press exit once, let me press enter, the password was test, and this symbol here signifies that I'm in the user mode, right? So you don't want everybody to be able to just come into your switch and press enable and go directly to the privilege exit mode like this, right? You want to secure it so only some persons will be able to go into it and make certain changes. So to set a password in this mode, what you do is move to global configuration mode by typing configure terminal, right? Enable password, and you will type a password, and I'm going to type a password of sec, right? And I'm gonna press enter, and I'm gonna press exit once, and I'm gonna execute the copy command. So copy running config to startup. And again, if you want to know more about the running config and the startup config, please see my video that deal with those. And I'm going to press enter again, right? And if I should execute the show running config command and hit enter, right here you will see that it says that a password for the enable for the privilege exit mode has been set, and the password is basically sec, right? So let's test that if it actually works. So I'm gonna press Control C to break out of that, and I'm gonna press exit. I'm gonna reconnect to the switch by hitting enter, right? And I'm gonna enter the password that will allow me to connect to the switch via the console cable, which was test. If you remember that it was test, T-E-S-T. To now move to the privilege exit mode, what I would normally do is type the enable command, right? So let's see if it works. So enable, enter. You see it's not allowing me to go there anymore, right? It's now asking me for a password, and the password was or is sec, SEC. Press enter. Now I can go into the privilege exit mode, right? Good. Now there is something that I want to show you. Now even though you set a password for your console line and you set a password for your virtual teletype line, your VTY lines, and you also set a password for the privilege exit mode, which is good, there is one shortfall to it, and that is the passwords are visible when you execute the show running config command. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I execute show running config command, right, it's visible. This is not very secure. So let's say you're doing some configuration on your switch and somebody should glance at your monitor, right? As it is now, they will be able to see that your password is sec, right? And you don't want that. Also, let's scroll down to the bottom. If you look here, the password is visible as well, which is not secure. So to make it a little bit more secure, what you want to do is execute the service password encryption command from global configuration, and what it will do is encrypt these passwords. Even if somebody should see it, they won't be able to easily tell what the password is. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna go back, right? I'm gonna press Ctrl C to break out, and I'm going to go to the global configuration mode by entering the command configure terminal, or I could config T, enter, and I'm going to execute the service password encryption, right? So I'm going to execute this command, and what it will do is encrypt these password, right, as well as the one for the enable, this one. So let's see if it actually works. So I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to execute the exit command once to go back, right? Now that I'm in the privilege exit mode, I'm going to execute the show running config command. Right, now look at this, right? What it did was to basically encrypt the password that was set to some random digit here. Now look at this line. Also look at this line right here. What this line is saying is that the service password encryption has been enabled, right? And if you look here, the password sec has been encrypted, right? So let's scroll down and see if the password for the lines or interfaces were also encrypted. See, so this password has been encrypted as well as this one and this one, so it actually works, right? No, so what we have just done is basically set the password for the console line, set the password for the VTY line, we have set a password for privilege exit mode, and we have basically encrypted those passwords, right? Now even though we use the password command for the privilege exit mode and it worked, right, in your production environment you don't want to use that keyword. What you want to use is the secret command, and I will show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to global configuration mode by entering config T, right? Then I'm going to set a secret for the privilege exit mode, which is much more secure than using a password, right? So I'm going to type enable secret, and I'm going to enter a secret of sec, right? So it's just like setting the password initially, but this time we're setting a secret, right? When you set a secret, it basically encrypts the password using a stronger encryption algorithm. Just remember that. So it enter, and it basically gave me an a little warning that the enable secret you have chosen is the same as your enable password. This is not recommended. Re-enter the enable secret. Okay, we will do that. So enable secret sec 2 and hit enter. Then I'm gonna hit the exit key once, and I'm going to execute the show running config command to see that the changes were actually made, right? And if you look here, look at this. So the secret uses a stronger encryption key, so it's very hard to decrypt, right, compared to this, right? So look at this. This is the secret, this is the password. So I would recommend that in your production environment you enable secret and not password. So the last thing I will show you is how to set a username and password for login purposes, right? So persons who are supposed to have access to your switch, you can give them a separate username and password, so you can basically track what changes they made on your switch or your router, right? So let me show you how to do that. So what you want to do, so I'm going to break out of this by entering Ctrl C, and I'm going to move to global configuration mode by configure terminal, or I could use a shortcut which is config T, right? And I'm going to set a username, and the username is going to be John, and the secret is the same thing as a password, but it uses a stronger algorithm for encryption purposes. So this is what you would want to use in your production environment, and the secret is going to be you right? I'm gonna hit enter, right? Then I'm gonna exit to check if this setting was actually made. So once I'm in the privilege exit mode, I'm going to execute the show running config command, show running config, hit enter, right? And I'm going to scroll down, and if you look here, right, it is saying that a username John was created, and the secret for John, or the password for John, is this encrypted key, which we know means you, right? So before I go any further, what I'm going to do is save the changes that were made to the startup config file, right? And to do that, I'm going to execute the copy command, copy running config, to startup config. Oops. Copy running config to startup config. Gonna hit enter once more, and the changes has been saved. Right, so let's say you want persons who are accessing your switch or your router to use their username and password to connect to the switch, either via the console interface or the VTY interface. What you're gonna do is execute the login local command on each of those lines, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna go back to the global configuration mode, configure terminal, and I'm going to move to the line con 0 command mode. So line con 0, I'm going to execute the command login local and hit enter, right? And I'm going to exit, and I'm going to do the same thing for the VTY line. Line VTY 0 to 15, enter, login local, enter. Then I'm going to click exit again, and I'm going to save the changes that were made to the startup config file by executing the copy command. Copy running config to startup config. I'm going to hit enter. Right, and to test if this actually works, I'm going to log out of the switch and re-log in using the username John and the password U. So let's see if it works. So I'm going to exit. Now I'm going to re-log into the switch. Enter. You see, now it asks me for a username. So the username is John, and the password that we had set is YOU. Enter, and I can now go in. So this video basically dealt with the basic security mechanism that you can put in place to secure a switch, right? But there are more advanced, right, ways that you can do it that you might want to look into. Alright, so that's it guys. Hope you learned something new. Thanks.